Hi, my name's Alvin. I raised 3 kids, paid off a house, and built a cabin with my bare hands. But when my son got married, he didn't even invite me. Didn't call, didn't explain. Then weeks later, he showed up demanding I hand over the cabin. Said it was his legacy. I kept quiet for years, but silence doesn't mean guilt. You want to know what I did next? I used to think silence was peace. Out here in the hills east of Atlanta, it sure felt like it. Most mornings I'd wake up to the chirping of robins just outside the cracked window. My cabin smelled like cedar and old vinyl. The fire pit still had smoke from the night before. I'd stretch, pour a little black coffee, put on an old Sam Cooke record, and sit quietly in the recliner my brother helped me build back in '89. Retirement wasn't supposed to feel like punishment. I earned this. Years of late shifts, aching knees, hot summers on roofs, and cold ones under busted heaters. I'd built something honest. And for the most part, it felt good, clean. Still, sometimes I'd think about Marcus when I saw the deer trot past the front porch. How he used to squeal, "Daddy, did you see that?" before I even had. I raised him here some summers when he was little, him and his sister when she still called me Papa, with both arms stretched high. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, to put Marcus through school. He never had to worry about lunch money or prom tuxes. And every Father's Day, he'd send cards dripping with love. "You taught me what being a man means," one read. I kept that one in a drawer near the fireplace. Still do. So when Miss Georgia from down the road asked me, "So when's the big wedding?" I just blinked. "What wedding?" I asked. She laughed. "Marcus's baby. Ain't he getting married to that pretty girl, Kiara? Saw her mama posting about it." Something inside me turned to ice. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, the laptop humming like it was nervous too. I typed his name into Facebook, then Instagram. The photos hit me like a punch to the ribs. There was Marcus, in a cream tuxedo, smiling under an arch of white roses, hand in hand with Kiara. Folks I didn't even know were there, laughing, eating shrimp, clinking glasses. My ex-wife stood beside their daughter, my daughter too. But not me. No email, no call, no invitation. I scrolled back just to be sure. Nothing. Then I opened our last text thread, fingers trembling like I was 16 again. His last message. "Talk soon, Pop. Promise." I stared at the screen till the blue light burned my eyes. Then I heard his voice in my head, age 15 maybe. "No matter what, you'll walk me down that aisle, Pop. Deal?" I whispered to the room. I kept my end. The next morning I couldn't eat, couldn't breathe right. I walked the cabin touching frames like they were wounds. There was the picture of him holding his first football. I missed meals to buy that jersey. There was the one where I'm handing him car keys, used my dental money for that rust bucket Honda. I opened the old journal I kept of his milestones. First steps, first C+, first time he said, "I hate you," and I forgave him before he knew he meant it. I picked up the baby picture, set it back down, face down, and then the thought came. Cold, sharp. Did I raise a stranger? They say love remembers, but now I wondered, what if it only remembers what's convenient? "It's not what you give them," I muttered to myself. "It's what they remember." 2 days passed. Nothing. Then, his name popped up on my phone. I answered. "Hey, Pop," he said, casual as summer rain. "Listen, Kiara and I have been talking. That cabin, your place, it don't make much sense for you anymore, right?" I didn't say a word. "I mean, we're starting a family. You're there all by yourself. Wouldn't it be better if it, went to someone who'd actually use it?" Still nothing from me. "Pop, you there?" I stared at the wall, jaw tight. "It's not like you need it anymore." And that was it. That was the nail. I finally spoke. Calm. "You've made your choice. Now let me make mine." Click. That night I didn't play Sam Cooke, didn't light the fire, just stared at the inbox blinking on the screen. New message. Subject. "Let's handle this like adults." The subject line stared back at me like a dare. Let's handle this like adults. I sat at the kitchen table, the morning sun barely pushing through the fog outside. The old percolator bubbled behind me, but I didn't get up. I clicked. No "Hi, Dad," no small talk, just lines that cut through me cleaner than a blade. "I think it's time we talked about the cabin," it began. Marcus's words felt sterilized, not a trace of warmth. He called it wasted real estate, said I was letting it rot in the woods, and that it was time to start passing things down, like I was already 6 feet under. He wrote, "It's part of my inheritance, and it just makes sense for Kiara and me to have it now. You've had your time, Dad. Let us build our life with it." I leaned back, hand on my chest. Not because of age, but because of the gall. The cabin wasn't just timber and nails. It wasn't wasted space. It was where I clawed my way back from divorce, from poverty, from feeling like less than a man. That cabin was never just a property. It was my salvation. I stood, walked over to the back door, and stepped outside. The porch creaked under my weight like it always did. I looked out at the trees I planted 30 years ago, still standing, still bearing fruit. That cabin had roots, my roots. I remember the first time I saw it. 30 years back, after my first big catering contract, I cashed the check, walked into a real estate office in East Atlanta, and told the lady, "I want something that's mine, not rented, not borrowed, mine." I didn't know how to repair roofs back then, but I learned. Spent weekends out here sanding beams, patching leaks, sweating through shirts to make it livable. Planted peach trees out front, dug the post holes by hand. After the divorce, I came out here every weekend, just me and the stars. Marcus only came out here twice. Once when he was about 7, running through the dirt barefoot, and once during a college break, stayed 2 nights, complained the whole time about no Wi-Fi. And now, just like that, he wanted it handed over. I whispered to no one, "You don't get to inherit something you never valued." That night, I called him. He picked up like nothing was strange. "Hey, Pop." I skipped the pleasantries. "That email, is that really how you see this?" He sighed. "It's not personal. It's just smart, Dad. Kiara and we're thinking long term." I bit my tongue. "And this is what you think I owe you?" "I'm not saying that," he said quickly. "I'm just saying, you got to start a legacy. Let me live mine." "You mean take mine to start yours?" Silence. He broke it. "Look, I'm moving up, Dad. I've got responsibilities now. That cabin, it's holding all of us back." I didn't shout, didn't curse. I just said, "I'll let you go." And I hung up. No rage. Just a slow drip of disappointment, like water off a leaking pipe. The next morning, I walked the halls of the cabin like a man taking inventory of his soul. Every dent in the wall told a story. The scratch on the floor, Marcus's tricycle when he was 4. I opened an old shoebox filled with black and white photos. My mother in her Sunday best. My army buddies at the cookout, laughing like fools. One picture showed me holding baby Marcus, his foot kicking out of the blanket. His face, Lord, he had my eyes back then. I set that photo beside the others and pulled out a notebook. The leather was cracked, soft from use. I hadn't touched it in years. I turned to a blank page and began to write. Not a reply, not a speech, just thoughts. Words I needed to get out before they ate me alive. "They think age makes you soft," I wrote. "They forget it makes you seasoned." Before I closed the notebook, I underlined one name twice, someone I hadn't talked to in years. Clarice's house hadn't changed much. Same rust-colored shutters, same wooden duck statue near the steps. She answered the door leaning on a cane, her hair grayer, her posture a little stooped, but her eyes, sharp as ever. "Well," she said, not moving, "you either got cancer or questions." I gave a tired smile. "Questions." She sighed and stepped aside. "Figures." Inside smelled like lemon oil and old carpet. I took a seat near the window. Clarice sat across from me, eyeing me like I was a story waiting to fall apart. It had been over a decade since my brother's funeral. We hadn't talked since. "So," she said, crossing her arms, "what did that boy do?" I didn't even flinch. "He wants the cabin." She raised one brow. "Alive as you are?" I nodded. "Said it's part of his inheritance, like I'm already gone." Clarice shook her head slowly, then leaned forward. "You didn't come all this way for sympathy, Alvin. So let me tell you a story you weren't supposed to know." I sat still, breath held. Back when Marcus was around 12, she began, I caught him lying to his mother about school, money. You said you promised him a car if he passed math, but you didn't. I knew that. You were saving for that dental work. Remember? I nodded. Well, he figured if he made you feel guilty enough, you'd cave. He called you guilt man. I heard him say it. She paused. And you always did cave. I looked at the floor. Something inside me twisted. That wasn't all, she said. One time, I walked in on him and his cousins. He was coaching them, telling them what to say, how to make you feel bad enough to open your wallet, like it was a game. My throat tightened. I couldn't speak. I didn't say anything then, she continued. I thought maybe he'd grow out of it. I figured, you deserved your image of him. You worked too hard. You loved too deep. I didn't want to break your version. I finally met her eyes. So you knew. She nodded. We all did. But silence is a Southern specialty, isn't it? I sank into the chair like the truth had weight. I thought silence meant peace, I said, voice low. Turns out it just grows poison. Clarice didn't offer comfort. She never did. Instead, she asked, why do you think you deserve peace if you keep avoiding war? I blinked at her. You raised him, yeah, but now you got to confront him, not like a father, like a man. Her words were direct, even sharp. I still want to believe, I started. She cut me off. Hope is holy, Alvin, but unchecked, it's also a hustle. He knows how to sell you your own shame, and you keep buying. I stood and paced the room. Clarice stayed seated, watching me with that same unblinking stare. You're saying I've been played, I said quiet. I'm saying you knew you were being played, but you hoped hard enough it'd change him. I sat down again. Something shifted. Not rage, not heartbreak, clarity. And behind that, a flicker of resolve. When I left Clarice's house, dusk was starting to bleed into the sky. I drove slow, past spots that used to hold meaning. Marcus's old elementary school, the corner store he'd beg for candy at, the park where he scraped his knees. They all felt different now, less sacred. I pulled over by a mural wall near East Ponce. Spray-painted words stood 10 feet high. They only fear the quiet man when he stands. I sat there a long time, engine running, letting that line settle in. I remembered my father, beaten down by life, silent in every room. I'd sworn never to become that man. But here I was, years later, absorbing pain in the same quiet way. That night, I didn't sleep in the cabin. I gathered my documents, deed, service records, bank statements, and drove them into town, stored them in a safety deposit box. Back home, I pulled out the same notebook I'd used the night before. But this time, I didn't write about feelings. I wrote facts. I didn't ask for understanding. I asked for accountability. And before I turned out the light, I underlined a single line. No more discounts on my dignity. The voicemail came through the next morning. I was still in my flannel pajamas, standing at the kitchen sink, staring out into the trees, coffee untouched. My phone buzzed once. Marcus. He didn't even let it ring all the way through. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. But I did hit play on the message. Wow. A legal notice? That's what we're doing now? He let out a fake laugh. You know, I tried to talk to you like family, Pop. Guess you'd rather handle this like strangers. Fine. Just don't forget who's been there for you. Click. I played it again. Then again. Not once did he say sorry. Not once did he ask why. It was all theater, performative outrage without a single ounce of self-reflection. I thought about the time Marcus was 16 and sweet-talked my mama out of $200 to help pay for a school trip. Later, I found out he spent it on sneakers, told her I knew. She just said, he's a smart boy. He'll grow out of it. He didn't. He just got better at making it sound noble. All those years I worked double shifts, scraped together savings, skipped out on my own health for him, and now he thought he could wrap entitlement and logic and call it legacy. Not anymore. When people think your silence is a weakness, remind them it's been your shield. 2 days later, I got a call from my cousin Tish, then another from Sister Evelyn down at New Light Church. Same tone, hesitant concern. covered in syrup. "Hey, Alvin," Tish said. "I don't mean to pry, but Marcus said you're putting him out of the family property. He told folks he looked after you when you were sick. Said this just don't seem like you." I held the phone a long second. "Tish, you believe that?" She didn't answer right away. That silence told me everything. It spread quick, faster than wildfire. By afternoon, I was fielding side eyes and bless your hearts from every direction. The kicker, I never asked that boy for a thing. Never once. "He took care of you when you were sick," someone repeated on another call. "And now you're kicking him out?" "No. What I was doing was protecting what I built. Funny how fast love gets rewritten when the storyteller's loud enough. I called Clarice, told her what was happening. She said, "You don't owe the world your side, just your peace." I thanked her and hung up, then turned my phone off. The next afternoon, I went down to the community center. Just needed some air. Routine, familiar faces. I sat in the back during the senior lunch. That's when it happened. Larry James, a man I played cards with for years, walked past like I was a ghost. Didn't even nod. Then I caught two folks whispering across the room, looking my way. Couldn't hear it, but I didn't need subtitles. I knew that rhythm. My jaw tensed, but I stayed seated, because I realized something. I hadn't done anything wrong. Boundaries ain't betrayal. I waited till the end and stopped by Mr. Sampson's table. Elder in the community. Didn't talk much, but his words stuck when they came. "You know you've drawn a strong line," he said, barely above a whisper, "when folks start tripping over it." I nodded, chest tight. That night I wrote it down in my notebook. Sometimes the price of peace is letting folks think you've lost your mind. Let them. 2 days later, I sat across from my lawyer again. The same young brother who helped me draft the first notice. Clean cut, sharp. We reviewed what could come next. "Defamation's tricky," he said. "But you can document every call, every message. If they escalate, we respond, not before." I nodded. "Stay detached, Mr. Brown. This ain't just legal, it's emotional warfare. Retaliation's common when money and ego mix." I told him I understood. Before leaving, I handed him a list of names. Folks I'd heard were spreading false stories. He slipped it into a folder. Back home, I didn't call a single one of them. Didn't explain, justify, or plead. I just sat on the porch, watching the sun bleed through the branches. My notebook open on my lap. Wrote a single line. "Silence in court is weakness. Silence in life is strength, when it's chosen." Just before bedtime, I opened a small envelope that had come in the day's mail. No return address. Inside was a note from an old friend, Elijah from my Army days. Just 4 words. "Stand tall, they'll fold." I smiled for the first time all week. The problem with boundaries is they only work if you enforce them. And Marcus? He was just getting started testing mine. I locked the workshop door behind me, watched the sun fade through the pines, and took a deep breath. I carried in my hand a wooden plaque I'd carved early that morning. "Marcus Chiara, the wedding date, and the dedication line, from your father, with pride." I traced the letters with my thumb. I didn't tell a soul I made it. I didn't need applause. I believed gifts should speak without announcement. I wrapped it carefully in felt cloth, placed it in a padded box, and sent it out via courier with clear instructions. Deliver to the wedding venue before the ceremony. I imagined their faces when they saw it, saw Chiara's hand tremble as she read the inscription. Maybe Marcus would pause mid-speech, look up and see me in the crowd. Maybe that would shake something. Then I went quiet. That evening I opened my laptop, checked Marcus's social media. The wedding album was up. I scrolled, heart thudding. There it was, a post. "Special thanks to Mrs. Dawson for this beautiful gift." The plaque sat against a backdrop of white florals, just like I'd sent it. The inscription was identical. But the caption, they credited Chiara's mother. Comments poured in. What a lovely gesture by the in-laws. So kind of her. Marriage isn't just two people, it's family blending. I looked again at the images, the angle, the light, same wood grain, same carving. It was mine. And now the public record erased me. I closed my eyes. It burned. Then I typed a message. To Marcus, why was my gift credited to someone else? Seconds later, his reply appeared. Oh, Mom just sent it along on our behalf. You know how she is. I leaned back. My heart pounded, not like fear, but fury. I never asked for your approval, I typed. Just acknowledgement. His response came fast. Don't start playing victim now. I felt something split inside me. I didn't reply again. That night I sat before my screen, cursor blinking, drafts waiting. I thought I could stay silent, delete my account, let it seem like I never cared. But silence felt like consent, so I gathered proof. The original photos, process shots, invoices for the wood, the sketched layout, all lined up with the final piece they posted. I hesitated. Recognition or dignity? I typed a short caption, attached proof, and posted, "This was mine, always mine." I leaned back, heart heavy. Then I closed the laptop and walked into darkness. Scrolling through my feed after dinner, I froze. There it was, the cabin. In a promo video for Blackwood Retreats, the very place I built with my bare hands, framed against mountain mist and pine. In the caption, hosted by Marcus Blackwood Retreats, no mention of me. They turned my refuge into their billboard. My chest tightened. I stared at the screen, remembering each board I cut, each nail I hammered, each dawn I sweated to make it livable. After my divorce, this place was my sanctuary, my confession, my therapy. Now it was their backdrop, plastered across timelines as if it never belonged to me. The betrayal stung sharper than anything Marcus had done before. I resolved quietly, they will pay for rewriting my legacy. Next morning, before dawn even felt like day, I drove out to the cabin. The road curved through evergreens, dew on grass shimmering. I eased in and saw them, a film crew assembling pastel arches in front of the porch, signage bearing Blackwood Retreat over my own front rails. I crouched behind a bush and pulled out my phone to take pictures. Every shot mattered. The sign, the arches, the crew unloading props. I slipped into the side yard and found a crumpled contract page in the bin, my cabin address scribbled under leased property. I pocketed it. I spotted blueprint files on a tablet left open near the crew van, one titled Blackwood Cabin Project, Final Draft. I zoomed in on metadata, modifications logged months ago, some traced to my own computer login. I closed my mouth tight. This was no mere theft. It was erasure with style. I dialed Marcus, voice low but firm. You turned my home into your ad, I said. You have some explaining to do. His laugh crackled through the line. You gave me permission years ago, he said. You signed off in your sleep, old man. I felt that bait, then struck back. You did not convert legacy into marketing. You exploited it, he hissed. So you want to fight? You cross me, you lose more than a house. I answered soft. You play chess with my blood, but I've learned your moves. He hung up. Silence crackled in my ear. That afternoon, I called my old friend Dante. I told him what I'd seen, sent him the photos and contract scraps, asked if he'd help trace where the project files originated. He said he was on it. Then I met with Jalen Fields, who used to run co-working offices. I asked him to run a search, see if Blackwood Retreats ever filed paperwork tied to my property. He agreed, with a look I recognized, alarm under professionalism. Back home, I drafted a cease and desist letter citing unauthorized use of property images, naming rights, branding usage. I considered going public, local news, forums, community boards, but held off. Not yet. I sat on the porch with notebook in lap. Under a fading sky, I let a simple line land in the silence. You can steal my name, but not the truth that built the name. I closed the notebook, felt the weight settle, but so did a fierce readiness. What Marcus stole was not just land, he touched identity, and I would fight to reclaim both. That evening, my phone buzzed. Jalen texted me, "You need to see this contract they filed in your name." I finished dinner early, restless, and drove into town. The streetlights glowed against damp pavement. I pulled into my driveway to find a thick envelope from the DeKalb County clerk. My name, Alvin Wainwright, printed crisp on the front. My hands shook as I slid it open. Inside was a petition for quiet title. Case number. I unfolded pages. There it was. Marcus Wainwright listed as petitioner, staking legal claim to 50% of the cabin. My cabin. I read it again. Signature. Marcus Wainwright, plush petitioner. No small print. No disclaimers. No courtesy. When did he file this? Who backed him? My mind raced. They just threw the paperwork in my mailbox and called it legal. They put me in a legal bind. A trap I didn't see until they slammed the door. I spread the documents across my desk under the lamp. Earlier drafts showed my name as co-owner. In the metadata, I saw timestamps from a week before Marcus ever contacted me. Files routed via Jalen Fields' firm address. My name in the revision history, as though I had signed off. I dialed Jalen, holding back the rage. Why is your firm tied to a document claiming half my cabin? He hesitated. Alvin, I forwarded it for review on Marcus's request. I never saw it executed. I muttered, that's how they hide the knife, in your own wounds. I photographed every page, every margin, every timestamp. I cross-checked my devices later. Then I called Marcus, calm first. I saw your petition. Tell me, what do you hope to take that you never gave me credit for? He snapped back. You never wrote the paperwork. I'm just cleaning up legacy. You think that gives you rights? I asked, voice clipped. Legacy justifies nothing if it's stolen from me. He threatened countersuit for slander. I heard Kiara in background crying. Then silence. Marcus hung up. Anger coiled inside, but I held it. Next morning, I met with my lawyer. I laid out the evidence, the envelope, drafts, metadata, Jalen's connection. He recommended filing a declaratory judgment, force Marcus to prove claim. We drafted a letter for the local newspaper, a community board release exposing the scheme. I recorded a voice memo summarizing everything, the betrayal, the theft, the manipulation. I held on to it for later. In my mind, I whispered, when law cages you, let your truth be the key. As I walked out, I felt the weight of what I'd done. This move either sets me free or breaks me. That night, my phone buzzed. It was the local news station. They asked, is Alvin Wainwright losing his cabin? Late afternoon, my phone rang, unexpected. A local news producer's voice asked, we've got your original speech recording, uncut. Want to go live now? My heart lurched. After everything that's been edited, suppressed, stolen, this might be my moment. I hesitated, mind racing through every cut Marcus made to silence me, every phrase removed, every awkward pause deleted. But I knew too well those silences. They were his weapon. I agreed. I sat in the dark of my office, breathing slow, heart pounding. The hum of the TV in the corner was like a drum in my chest. I replayed snippets in my head, the lines they dared erase. He owed me more than a name. I built from scratch. Those words had weight. When the broadcast began, I listened through my own speakers. I heard me, full, raw, correct, no edits, no cuts. My voice, my convictions, every nuance laid bare. Across the region, viewers turned in. On Facebook, comments streamed, he's speaking truth. Why was this hidden? This man deserves his full story told. Marcus's allies sputtered on air. Their narrative unraveled mid-speech. The facade cracked. I sat quietly, letting it wash over me. Vindication, ache, relief, rage muted by dignity. Soon his call came, his voice thin. Take it down now, he demanded. I didn't threaten. I replied, I released the evidence. You played with history too long. He pleaded. I hung up. Then I released my archive. Contracts, messages, file logs, every shred of my proof. Clarice, Lena, Dante shared, amplified, stood behind me. News stations picked it up. Editors ran headlines. Father finally heard. Community elders called, old church brothers stopped by. They reminded me, your name was never small. That night, I sat by my desk with trembling hands. I prepared the final envelope. Copies of all evidence. A typed statement, you'll never spend another dime in my name. The old handwritten promise from decades ago. I walked out to the porch, placed the envelope where visitors would see, locked the cabin door behind me. A final journal entry. I choose peace, not absence. Under a sky flattened by night, I stepped off the porch into the dark mountain path, unseen. I awoke to texts. My phone lit up the dark. The broadcast had run overnight. Local stations carried it. National outlets quoted me. Hashtag Wainwright. Truth trended. Hash speak for yourself trended. My name, finally echoing in places I wished I'd heard it years ago. TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all showing snippets of my speech uncut. Young folks commenting, "Where was this man all this time?" He speaks for us. In my old neighborhood, someone painted a mural overnight. The mountain stands tall. I swore I didn't tell them to do that, but it felt right. Neighbors I hadn't seen in years called. At church, the deacon spoke during Sunday service. He always gave more than he got. My voice, once quiet in their living rooms, now echoed through halls I never entered. Marcus's world shifted. Sponsors dropped deals. Influencers split sides. His public apology landed hollow, too much too late. People called out the gaslighting, the entitlement. Then he got the private letter. "Your voice got loud when mine got tired. That doesn't make you right." He read it on live video. His voice shook. He tried to justify, to reclaim narrative, but his logic cracked. Listeners listened to the full speech afterward. The siblings, they backed away. Clarice took time off. Lena pulled down her feeds. The noise drowned. Afterwards, friends published my final journal entries. I never intended them for eyes beyond one. They spoke of pride and silence, of generational chains. One entry read, "My daddy taught me to work, but never to speak. I broke that chain." Colleges used my story in classes on media manipulation. Church groups discussed how family lies form cheap covers for deeper wounds. I wasn't just a victim, I became a symbol. People who ignored me for years clung to my words now. The cabin, my mountain refuge, became a community retreat. They named it Wainwright Retreat. At the door, a plaque hangs. "You are enough, even when they say otherwise." In one final voice note, I said, "I didn't vanish. I became part of the air you breathe up here." A gospel song, "I Won't Complain," played faintly in the background as I left. I spoke softly in that voice note. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing peace over power. They never found me, but in my absence, they found themselves in my presence.